Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series on the synthesis of yoga. We are in the Four Aids, page 63, beginning with the last paragraph, and as always with our beloved Ranga. This paragraph means so much to me.
So we are doing the four aids. I remember, I just remind you, the four aids. The first is the Shastra, the scripture, in whichever way. If you are a Muslim, it's your Quran for you. If you are a Christian, it's a Bible for you. If you are a Parsi, what is it? The Avesta, I think it is. Okay. And if you are a Hindu, it should be the Gita or the Upanishads or the Vedas, whatever you want. Now, the first is the Shastra. The second is your enthusiasm, the Utsaha. How intense is your aspiration? And then he comes to the Guru, okay? The one who has already gone through the path, and he will guide you so that you don't get lost on the way. It's easier, much easier to get lost on the path of yoga than to get lost in a forest. Much easier to get lost, more difficult to cross. So I'll read out the previous para's summary so that we get the sense of continuity. Of course, continuity is not necessary because there are 3 stars and he's starting a new section. But anyway, we'll do that. He has said the previous one, from the beginning of creation, the goal of life has always been to attain to God. For everybody. Unconsciously or consciously. Slowly or fast. How? In what way? To see, know, become and fulfill the Supreme One inwardly as well as in outer life. This is Sri Aurobindo's view. Okay? The others, they don't want in outer life, they want only inwardly, or you want to escape from your body-mind life. To be conscious and see and experience Him within oneself as well as in the external world is the desired consummation of human life in the individual. God must possess the individual and he must possess God. To enjoy God in His presence, His peace, His activity, power would be the happiness of the individual jiva. This complete identification and enjoyment of God in every way is the aim of the integral yoga. In every way. Not only in ananda, but also in knowledge and also in power. This is the truth that nature has hidden in herself from the beginning, and its gradual discovery is the work of evolution. In short, the human soul must become the divine soul. This is the aim of integral yoga. So now we read the next section. The surest way towards this integral fulfillment is to find the master of the secret who dwells within us. Open ourselves constantly to the divine power, which is also the divine wisdom and love, and trust to it to effect the conversion. But it is difficult for the egoistic consciousness to do this at all in the beginning. And if done at all, it is still difficult to do it perfectly and in every strand of our nature. It is difficult at first because our egoistic habits of thought, of sensation, of feeling block up the avenues by which we can arrive at the perception that is needed. It is difficult afterwards because the faith, the surrender, the courage requisite on this path are not easy to the ego-clouded soul. The divine working is not the working of which the egoistic mind desires or approves, for it uses error in order to arrive at truth, suffering in order to arrive at bliss, imperfection in order to arrive at perfection. The ego cannot see where it is being led. It revolts against the leading, loses confidence, loses courage. These failings would not matter, for the divine guide within is not offended by our revolt, not discouraged by our want of faith, or repelled by our weakness. He has the entire love of the mother and the entire patience of the teacher. But by withdrawing our assent from the guidance, we lose the consciousness, though not all the actuality, not in any case the eventuality of its benefit. And we withdraw our assent because we fail to distinguish our higher self from the lower, through which he is preparing his self-revelation. As in the world, so in ourselves, we cannot see God because of his workings, and especially because he works in us through our nature and not by a succession of arbitrary miracles. Man demands miracles that he may have faith. He wishes to be dazzled in order that he may see. And this impatience, this ignorance may turn into a great danger and disaster if, in our revolt against the divine leading, we call in another distorting force more satisfying to our impulses and desires and ask it to guide us and give it the divine name. The English is fairly simple. We'll look at the ideas and we'll say what it is. The surest way towards this integral fulfillment is to find the master of the secret who dwells within us. Open ourselves constantly to the divine power, which is also the divine wisdom and love, and trust to it to effect the conversion. So, this is the essence of integral yoga. Surrender, first of all, find the Lord within you and surrender to him. Both are difficult. To find the master within yourself is not easy. In practical terms, it means that you find your psychic being. That's a step number one. Get your psychic being in front. How do you get that? By devotion and love. That's the best way. Constant remembrance. That's another very powerful method. Constant remembrance of the divine. At first it may be mechanical and you feel it's only mental, there's no emotion. But the emotion comes afterwards and enriches the effort. But in the beginning it may only be an effort. I am mechanically remembering something. Sometimes the doubts come in. I am remembering. It's like remembering that I have an appointment 5 days hence. Something mechanical. What has it got to do with God? That's what you may feel. But no, that mechanical, because you are connecting with the divine image. But the image will lead you to God himself afterwards.
So the value of japa?
Yes. Not only japa, I'll tell you something else even. Even if you take a photograph and go on concentrating on it. Well, I tried that and I'll tell you what I felt. I said, I'm concentrating here on this, but this seems to be a purely mechanical action. Why should I concentrate only on the photograph when it's mechanical? Why not I concentrate on the leg of the table? What difference is there? That's a question that arises in the mind. But the thing is, what you are concentrating on is the doorway to what you want, what it represents. So when you are concentrating on a photograph, it may be mechanical in the beginning, but the photograph of the mother is there behind, leading you. Just like your ring, you have on your, and mother's symbol is there. It's not mother, but it represents mother. It's a symbol. So through that symbol, you will go to the reality. So in the beginning it may be mechanical, but ultimately it will lead you to what you are seeking for. So many people have told me this. But remembrance is so mechanical. There doesn't seem to be any emotion in it, but it comes later on, slowly. So, how to get that? He's saying very simply, is to find the master of the secret who dwells within us. But how to do that? By love and devotion, and the Gita also is very clear on that. By service to the divine. Okay? And constant remembrance and questioning also. You must go on questioning. Your interest must be kept alive. So,
can you give an example of how one questions? What to question?
when you look at yourself, okay, you see so many obstacles. Yeah, you see desire, and not easy to get rid of desire. So you ask, what should I do to get rid of my desire? The answer comes according to your nature. So that's the thing. Okay, so it depends on each individual will get a different answer. So these questions can come up, no? So, or I have a choice of two things to do. Whether this is the right thing to do or not, you must always be alert to and ask for help, and you get the help afterwards. In the beginning you may not, and many people get discouraged because they don't get the help in the beginning. The help is coming, but you are not receiving. You are not receptive. I always go back to that good example of the radio station broadcasting, FM modulated. There it is very, very clear, it comes out. There is no disturbance. But by the time it comes to you, you have to tune yourself into it. If you don't tune yourself, how will you get? So tuning yourself is the receptivity. I remember we had a Gita class, and it was a French lady. She was here in the ashram. She was asking that, yes, I ask for help from the mother, but it never comes. It never comes because you are not receiving. It is always coming. We are not receiving it. Okay, so to find the master of the secret, okay, there is a very interesting inversion. Normally you would say the secret of the master. The secret master, but Sridhar is saying the master of the secret who dwells within us. The secret part of you, okay, the secret part of you who dwells within us. Open ourselves constantly to the divine power, which is also the divine wisdom and love, and trust to it to effect the conversion. Hand over your charge to him. Surrender. It sounds very easy, but that's also pretty difficult, not easy. Your own will keep coming in all the time. Okay? Yeah. But it is difficult for the egoistic consciousness to do this at all in the beginning. And if done at all, it is still difficult to do it perfectly and in every strand of our nature. So what does he mean by every strand of our nature? We have basically three strands. We have the physical, we have the vital, and we have the mental. But if you want to go into great detail, then there is the combination of all these things. There is the physical vital, there is a vital, there is a mental vital, there is a vital mind, then there is a pure mind. So there are so many different elements. These are the strands that he's talking about. Okay. Then there is the ego. Ego is a very big strand in the beginning. It's connecting all these. So that's what he's saying, that even if you do it perfectly, the surrender in every part of your being is difficult, not easy. It's a very common experience that you want in the mind something, but your vital is resisting. Okay? But it is difficult for the egoistic consciousness to do this at all in the beginning. And if done at all, it is still difficult to do it perfectly and in every strand of our nature. It is difficult at first because of our egoistic habits of thought, of sensation, of feeling, block up the avenues by which we can arrive at the perception that is needed. Okay, so our thoughts are constant movement, our sensations and our emotions, everything is blocking up. Okay, everything has to become calm and quiet without movement. It is difficult afterwards because the faith, the surrender, the courage requisite in this path are not easy to the ego-clouded soul. Now note that your soul in the beginning is essentially divine, but it is ego-clouded. We often make the mistake of thinking that the soul within me is divine right from the beginning. It's only essentially divine, potentially divine. But it has got completely lost. It thinks that it's a body-mind life. It thinks that it is identifying itself with the body-mind life.
But therefore it's clouded.
Yes, that's why it is clouded. And the clouds are 3 levels. The body, the vital and the mind. Okay, so the divine working is not the working which the egoistic mind desires or approves, for it uses error in order to arrive at truth, suffering in order to arrive at bliss, imperfection in order to arrive at perfection. Now this is typically Sri Aurobindo way of saying things, because when there is suffering, you feel God is punishing you. There was recently a devotee, a family devotee of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, and the husband died in Bombay, COVID.
Oh.
The wife lost faith entirely. How could the divine do this to me? It's very natural that you think in that way. What have I done to deserve this? Okay. But it's not that at all, it's an opportunity. You may feel that you are suffering, but the divine is telling you that I am giving you this too. It's an opportunity for you to get rid of your limitations. Conquer the difficulty and you will benefit. So, see, he keeps on saying this. Nah? He says that the more difficulty, in fact, Mother says something very interesting. She says, if you have a very comfortable, easy life, you know that the grace is not working. If you have difficulties, then you know the grace is working. Sounds very contradictory, but that's true. Because you are making an effort and then you meet the obstacle. But if you don't make the effort, there are no obstacles. So, the divine working is not the working which the egoistic mind desires or approves. The egoistic mind desires a clean, simple, straight highway. Not even a twisted and turning path. It wants a very easy life. But that's not the yogic method. There are so many difficulties in you. Each difficulty has to be tackled. And that means a little bit of problem. You have to be remodeled. And the remodeling is difficult. You remember earlier he says that like a smith, like a blacksmith.
Yes, yes.
He doesn't use the word blacksmith, he's like a smith.
Smith, yeah.
Yeah. You have to be heated and then hammered into shape. So that's a problem sometimes. Suffering in order to arrive at bliss, imperfection in order to arrive at perfection. The ego cannot see where it is being led. It revolts against the leading, loses confidence, loses courage. These failings would not matter, for the divine guide within is not offended by our revolt, not discouraged by our want of faith, or repelled by our weakness. He has the entire love of the mother and the entire patience of the teacher. But by withdrawing our assent from the guidance, we lose the consciousness, though not all the actuality. Because, now that's very interesting, because whatever difficulties you come and there is a fall, but your spiritual destiny is 100% sure at the end. Only the question is how long you will take to reach there. So that's what he's saying, though not the actuality. Okay? Only the consciousness temporarily you lose. Though not all the actuality. Not in any case the eventuality. Your eventual goal is sure for everybody. You're starting from ignorance, going to knowledge. You're starting from the darkness, you're going to light. And everybody is bound to reach the light. But in his own sweet time, according to his own aspiration. But by withdrawing our asset, we read that. From the guidance, we lose the consciousness, though not all the actuality, not in any case the eventuality. Okay? Or its benefit. And we withdraw our assent because we fail to distinguish our higher self from the lower, through which he is preparing his self-revelation. We don't know that the divine is within us, guiding us. But somehow if you could get a glimpse of that, then you can say that, okay, yes. However unfit I am being guided and I will succeed. But most of the time, even if you are sincere, you look at your body-mind life, you look at the amount of desires you have, you look at your imperfections, and you say, I am not fit for yoga. That's you are identifying yourself with your body-mind life, totally wrong. You have to find your inner soul and identify yourself with that and know that your body-mind life is only temporarily given to you for one lifetime. That's all. That's a difficult work you have to do.
But it's very true that many of us do that.
Everybody does that. We identify ourselves with our body-mind life.
Yes.
It's only when you have a glimpse of the true being in you, and even after the glimpse is not enough, but the faith comes after that yes, the imperfections can still be there, but yes, I am being guided. But that faith also disappears. That's what Swami is saying. No? Because you don't know that you are really divine in essence. You don't know your higher self. Okay, so. And we withdraw our assent because we fail to distinguish our higher self from the lower. So which is the higher and which is the lower? The higher self is your Atman, the Jivatman, or your self which is above you and guiding you from there. And your individual self is also the universal self. You realize that it's the same. And there is also the psychic being within you. But the higher self, he is talking of the self which guides you from above but does not come down into body-mind life. You have to go and identify yourself with your self. You can use the word self, you can use the word Brahman, you can use the word central being, also use the word central being. Okay? Atman, that also you can use the word. That condition is referred to by the Buddhists as the nirvana. Because it is, and what is the self? It's a consciousness in which you feel yourself to be free from body-mind life. You are not trapped in the body-mind life. You realize that you are pure, you are infinite, you have always existed and you will always exist. In other words, you realize your immortality and you realize that that's your true being. The body-mind life is not your true being. And it is featureless and immutable. It is static. There is no movement. That's a Purusha. That's a Purusha. You see all the movement below you and you know that that's the house in which you were living. But now you are up here. Okay? So, once you know your higher self or you know your psychic being, you are sure that you are being guided. If that is not there, then faith fails. That's what Swami says very clearly. He's saying, we withdraw our asset because we fail to distinguish our higher self from the lower, through which he is preparing his self-revelation. As in the world, so in ourselves, we cannot see God because of his workings, and specially because he works in us through our nature and not by a succession of arbitrary miracles. Now, this is something very interesting. The divine does not work directly in the physical world. He works through universal nature, and universal nature works in the individual. This is the gradation that occurs. Just as in any management, just as in a company, okay? Let's say a manufacturing company, okay? You have the CEO, Chief Executive Officer. He is not running the machines. He is up there. He is an assistant manager and he says, this is my policy, please execute it. Then the manager or assistant manager will give instructions to the supervisors. And the supervisors will ultimately tell the machine man what to do, what not to do. This is exactly what happens in the spiritual plane also. The divine is there, creates the assistant manager, which is universal nature, and universal nature is working in you. You think you are working, but actually it's the universal nature which is working in you. And because of your ego, you think that you are doing everything, but you are not. It's universal nature is working in you. So this is exactly there's a very interesting story which illustrates this truth. Okay? It's a man who is drowning in the sea. Okay? And he asks God to help him. Oh God, help me. But he doesn't know this law that the divine has made. So a ship comes and sees and says, oh, you are in danger, come, we'll take you into your... No. God is going to come and help me. One ship goes away. The second ship comes and wants to take him and rescue him. No, God will come and help me. 3 times it happens, he drowns. When he goes to God, he says, I depended on you and you didn't come and help me. He says, I tried to help you 3 times, but you didn't respond. So this is the truth. Many people feel that somebody is referring to miracles and arbitrary miracles. The divine doesn't work that way. He is working through and he sticks to his plan. Only sometimes there is a direct intervention without this gradation. When there is an intense stress, then he can directly intervene. But the condition must be conducive to his doing this miracle. For instance, Sri Ramdas was quite ready. And in Baroda, when he had that accident, there were no cars in those days. There used to be horse carriages. So he's going. Suddenly the chance of an accident came up. And he felt the Godhead coming out from within him and controlling the whole thing. He has a sonnet on that. Okay? And he felt that is coming. So a direct intervention of the divine. You could see the divine coming and doing that. So that's very rare. Or the case of Ramakrishna, where he is going to cut off his own head. Then the Divine Mother appears to him. So this is very rare. It doesn't happen like that.
What about those who create miracles or are miracles?
They are not miracles. That's the whole thing.
That's the key.
Because the conditions are ready. There are some very interesting movies, Hollywood movies. I have got the thing. In one, there is a child, a young child. She's a 9-year-old child. And the parents take her to the doctors, and the doctors say that there is an obstruction in her intestines. We can do nothing about it. They go everywhere. They go here. They go to the best doctors, and they all say that we can't do anything about it. Okay? Then they resign themselves to her fate that she's going to die. One day they go back to their own home. It was somewhere else. They went to Boston. With some very good hospitals are there, specialists were there, but they said we can't do anything. It's very difficult to do. Then one day she climbed a tree. Okay, this is an actual event. They say it's a true story. She climbed a tree and from there she fell down. And when she fell down, she had the experience of the divine saving her. She's a 9-year-old child. Okay, and she tells her mother, and she gets cured. She can't eat because the intestines are blocked, so she can't eat. But suddenly she starts eating normally, and the stomach, which is bloated, goes down, and the parents are surprised. What has happened? How is it? What has happened to you? Then she says that I don't say these things because nobody will believe me. But the divine came and told me that I will be okay. And look, I am okay now. So it's a very interesting movie. I forget the title. But this sort of thing can happen. It's rare. So we come back to our. So man demands miracles that he may have faith. He wishes to be dazzled in order that he may see. And this impatience, this ignorance may turn into a great danger and disaster if, in our revolt against the divine leading, we call in another distorting force more satisfying to our impulses and desires and ask it to guide us and give it the divine name. So, when an easier solution comes, the divine is leading you, but he is putting a lot of difficulties and conditions. But someone else comes and says, no, I can do it easily for you. You fall a prey, and then you say, okay, but that's a wrong force. And then this happens. And we don't recognize these forces. There was an interesting case again, how he did not recognize this wrong force. In the ashram, we had a gentleman, okay? And he was having a lot of experiences in the vital. But when he told mother about them, mother stopped them. And he used to complain. Mother has stopped all my experiences. But the reason was that when you are going inwards, you have to cross your subtle physical, you have to cross your vital, and you have to cross finally to the mental inner mind, and then you have to go to your psychic being. So the vital is an area of great danger, and you can get lost. There are several words that Srimda uses for this passage. The intermediate zone, he calls it. Or he sometimes also uses the word elsewhere, the valley of the false glimmer. The valley of the false glimmer. So you can get stuck there. And this man, that is what had happened to him. He was getting brilliant experiences, but he is going to be led astray. So mother saved him, but he is complaining. So that's what Swami is saying. Great danger can be there. But mother was there and she saved him. But others, they may be absolutely dazzled by those experiences and you will be led astray. But while it is difficult for man to believe in something unseen within himself, it is easy for him to believe in something which he can image as extraneous to himself, outwardly in the physical world. The spiritual progress of most human beings demands an extraneous support, an object of faith outside us. It needs an external image of God, or it needs a human representative, incarnation, prophet, or guru. Or it demands both and receives them. For according to the need of the human soul, the divine manifests himself as deity, as human divine, or in simple humanity, using that thick disguise which so successfully conceals the Godhead for a means of transmission of his guidance. So, a very small para in which saying the divine helps you according to your nature. And it depends on you. It could be an incarnation. The incarnation is the avatar. The divine comes down and incarnates himself in a human body. So that could be the avatar. Or it could be the prophet. In Islam they say that you can never become the divine, or the divine can never come down, but you can be a messenger of God. You can be a prophet. The word prophet is used for in the Quran. No? They say that Allah, no, Muhammad. Muhammad was a prophet of Allah. So somebody uses the word. Or Guru. The Guru can be a human being. So he is further explaining. Okay. External image of God, or needs a human representative. Incarnation, prophet, or Guru. So he is saying it could be an incarnation, or it could be a prophet, or a Guru. Or it demands both and receives them. So, for according to the need of the human soul, the divine manifests himself as deity, as human divine, or in simple humanity. Okay? So it could be the deity or as a human divine. The human divine, is he meaning the avatar? He has used earlier incarnation, but now he is saying the human divine or in simple humanity.
Simple humanity, I'd like you to explain.
Eh?
Simple humanity.
Yeah. Simple humanity means an ordinary man who will be able to guide you in the fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's what he means. In fact, just take Srim's own case. It was Lele, Vishnu Bhaskar Lele, who Srimdo says in another letter later on that he was inferior to me in every way. In experience, in education, in every way he was inferior to me. Yet I surrendered to him and I got the benefit. So it depends on how you are approaching the human being. Depends on that. There was one case of a whole group. Okay, it was a group, and they were led astray by a so-called guru who was himself not a very straight man at all. Okay, so the question comes up: what happens? There's some bad experience also, but bad experiences we think is something negative. But it need not be negative. It will teach you something. As he's saying, suffering, evil. Through these things you benefit. Man demands miracles that he may have faith. We read that, no? So, he wishes to be dazzled in order that he may see. And the impatience, this ignorance may turn to be a great danger and disaster if in our revolt against the divine leading, we call in another distorting force more satisfying to our impulses and desires and ask it to guide us and give it the divine name. There was another very interesting case in the ashram also where again the intermediate zone, he entered the vital and he felt a tremendous amount of power. Okay, so he told Sri Aurobindo, I don't need to eat, I don't need to sleep. Okay, so much energy is coming into me. So it was again the same, the inner vital, the valley of the false glimmer or the intermediate zone, which is very difficult. So Sri Aurobindo said, don't get misled. Please eat normally and sleep normally. He said, I don't need to. He defied Sri Aurobindo and said that no, I am okay. Finally, he had to be sent away. He lost his mind and he had to be sent away. So, that can happen on the way. The Hindu discipline of spirituality provides for this need of the soul by the conceptions of the Ishta Devata, the avatar, the guru. By the Ishta Devata, the chosen deity is meant not some inferior power, but a name and form of the transcendent and universal Godhead. Almost all religions either have as their base or make use of some such name and form of the divine. Its necessity for the human soul is evident. God is the all and more than the all. But that which is more than the all, how shall man conceive? And even the all is at first too hard for him. For he himself in his active consciousness is a limited and selective formation and can open himself only to that which is in harmony with his limited nature. There are things in the all which are too hard for his comprehension or seem too terrible to his sensitive emotions and cowering sensations. Or simply, he cannot conceive as the divine, cannot approach or cannot recognize something that is too much out of the circle of his ignorant or partial conceptions. It is necessary for him to conceive God in his own image or in some form that is beyond himself, but consonant with with his highest tendencies and seizable by his feelings or his intelligence. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to come into contact and communion with the divine. So, the Hindu discipline of spirituality provides for this need of soul by these conceptions. The Ishta Devata is usually in India, the family deity. Every family has got either an image of Shiva or Rama or Krishna or some. That's a chosen deity. Okay, it may be any. Okay, so that's the Ishta Devata. Ishta means that which is liked, that which is loved. Okay, so the one that you prefer in that sense. Or the avatar and the guru, all these. So Sridhar is now explaining what the Ishta Devata is. By the Ishta Devata, the chosen deity, you select one, either Krishna or anybody, okay, is meant not some inferior power, but a name and form of the transcendent and universal Godhead. Name and form. The divine is one, but it could be Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, it could be Krishna, it could be Rama, it could be anything. It could be Christ, it could be Buddha. Chosen deity. Okay? Makes some such name and form of the divine. Its necessity for the human soul is evident. Because man is limited and God is unlimited. So that's why it is difficult. God is the all and more than the all. But that which is more than the all, how shall man conceive? And even the all is at first too hard for him. For he himself, in his active consciousness, is a limited and selective formation, can open himself only to that which is in harmony with his limited nature. What Sridhar means here is that most people can't think of violence being divine. Okay? So that defined terrible, they can't accept. Whereas the Indian religion does show Durga killing the Asura, okay? Or Shiva, which is dance, the dance of destruction. So this
Kali.
Huh?
Kali.
Kali also is there. Kali is an aspect of Durga. Durga is the divine element. Kali is the lower manifestation of Durga in the vital. Kali usually shown as dark, black and with a tongue, red tongue protruding and a garland of skulls. So that also is the divine. But that may be too much for some people to accept. That's what he's meaning. Okay, so there are things in the all which are too hard for his comprehension or seem too terrible to his sensitive emotions and cowering sensations. Look at the word cowering.
Yeah.
You are afraid. You start withdrawing yourself from something which you find difficult to understand. Okay. Or simply, he cannot conceive as the divine, cannot approach or cannot recognize something that is too much out of the circle of his ignorant and partial conceptions. It is necessary for him to conceive God in his own image. This is what is called anthropomorphism. You think of God as in the same image. Whatever you are, you attribute those qualities to the divine. There is the Jewish conception and also the Christian conception. God can punish you at the end. He can either reward you or punish you. So that's a human trait. God never punishes. But we think of him as capable of punishment. So simply cannot accept. Okay, so it is necessary for him to conceive of God in his own image or in some form that is beyond himself but consonant with its highest tendencies and seizable by his feelings or his intelligence. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to come into contact and communion with the divine. You need a limited representation. That's what he's saying. We stop here today.
Thank you. Namaste, all.